They met by accident, fell in love by chance, and broke apart by fear, but destiny wasn't done with them yet. It was just another afternoon on campus. Students were laughing, rushing to class. The sun was soft, and Andrés sat under his favorite tree, sketchbook in hand, lost in his art. He was quiet, thoughtful, always observing the world from a distance. And then, everything stopped. A gust of wind blew through the courtyard, scattering his drawings across the ground. One of them landed near someone. A boy with bright eyes, a warm laugh, and the kind of energy that made everything around him feel lighter. His name was Nacho. He picked up the sketch and smiled. "Hey," he said. "You dropped your art." Andrés looked up, embarrassed. "Oh, thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to draw you." Nacho laughed softly. "You draw strangers often?" Andrés hesitated, then smiled back. "Only the ones who stand out." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The noise of the campus faded, and all that existed was the quiet between their words. "I'm Nacho," he said finally. "Andrés," he replied. And that was it. Just a simple hello. But sometimes, that's how the biggest stories begin. Quietly, like a breath you didn't know you were holding. That day, Andrés didn't just meet someone new. He met the person who would change everything. After that first meeting, something began to change. It started small, a wave, a smile across the courtyard, a shared laugh between classes. Andrés didn't even realize when Nacho started showing up everywhere, in the library, at the coffee shop, in the art studio. Almost like fate was gently pushing them together. One afternoon, Nacho found him painting near the old fountain. He sat beside him, watching quietly. "You're really good," Nacho said.
Andrés Maíld's Chaili.
"You say that every time." "That's because it's true," Nacho laughed. "But you never draw yourself."
Andrés Post.
"Maybe because I don't know what I look like through someone else's eyes." For a second, Nacho didn't know what to say. He just looked at him, really looked, and the world went still again. Days turned into weeks. Their friendship grew deeper, softer. They shared playlists, secrets, late-night walks, and moments that felt like forever. But there were also moments of silence. Those long, unspoken pauses where their hearts seemed to say everything their voices couldn't. Andrés started to realize something, that this feeling wasn't just friendship anymore. It was something scarier, something beautiful. He didn't know if Nacho felt it too. But every time Nacho smiled, it felt like home. It happened on a rainy evening. The kind where the world feels quiet, soft music in the distance, raindrops racing down glass. Andrés was in the studio again, painting. He didn't hear the door open, not until Nacho's voice broke the silence. "Hey, you always disappear when it rains."
Andrés Maíld Fantli.
"Maybe I like the sound of it. It keeps me company." Nacho stepped closer, curious. "What are you painting this time?" Andrés hesitated, then turned the canvas. It was a portrait. Warm colors, gentle eyes, a smile that looked exactly like Nacho's. Nacho froze. His voice dropped to a whisper. "That's me?"
Andrés Nadid.
"Yeah, I guess it's how I see you." Silence. Just the rain and their breathing. Nacho moved closer, eyes soft but searching. "Andrés," he began, "why does it look so full of love?"
Andrés interrupted softly.
Nacho blinked. He hadn't expected that. "I don't know when it happened," Andrés said quietly. "You became a part of every song I hear, every color I use, and I can't pretend it's just friendship anymore." For a heartbeat, Nacho didn't move. Then he smiled, a slow, trembling kind of smile. "You think you're the only one?" he whispered. And before either of them could think, Nacho leaned in, and the space between them disappeared. The rain kept falling, washing away every fear, every doubt, every reason they thought they couldn't feel this way. That night, for the first time, love wasn't just something they talked about. It was real, and it was theirs. Love doesn't always break in one moment. Sometimes, it fades slowly, like a song you still hear, but only in the background. For weeks, Nacho and Andrés were inseparable. Every morning coffee, Every late-night talk, every quiet look that said, "I'm yours." But then, something changed. Started small. Missed calls. Short replies. Andrés would wait, staring at his phone, typing messages he never sent. Nacho had new friends, new plans, a new world spinning around him. Andrés tried to understand, but the silence between them grew heavier each day. One afternoon, they finally met again. Same fountain, same soft breeze, but everything felt different. Nacho smiled, trying to make it normal. "Hey, it's been a while."
Andrés nodded.
"Yeah, you've been busy." There was no anger in his voice, just that quiet sadness of someone still holding on. Nacho looked away. "I didn't mean to drift. It just happened." Andrés whispered, "That's the thing about love, Nacho. It doesn't stop happening. People just stop noticing." The words hung between them, heavy and trembling. Nacho wanted to say something to fix it, but he didn't. He just stood there, as the distance between them became something real, something permanent. Later that night, Andrés walked home alone, the same rain falling again. But this time, it didn't sound peaceful. It sounded like goodbye. It had been months since they last spoke. Different classes, different friends, different lives. But some feelings don't fade, they just wait in silence. One evening, Andrés walked into the art gallery for his final exhibition. His hands were trembling, not because of the crowd, but because of the painting on the center wall. It was them, the two of them, sitting under the tree where it all began. Soft colors, gentle light, eyes that still searched for each other. As Andrés stood there, lost in memory, a familiar voice spoke behind him. "Still drawing strangers who stand out?" He froze. That voice, he could never forget it. He turned around, and there he was, Nacho. A little older, a little quieter. But that same smile, the one that always felt like home. Andrés tried to smile too. "You came." Nacho nodded. "I never stopped wanting to." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The air was heavy with everything left unsaid. Finally, Andrés whispered, "You hurt me, Nacho." "I know," Nacho said softly. "But it hurt me too." Andrés looked at him, really looked. "Then why did you leave?"
Nacho sighed.
"Because I was scared. Scared of how much you mattered." There was no anger, no tears, just truth. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to face. They stood in silence again, staring at the painting. Two souls who had loved, lost, and still carried each other in the quiet parts of their hearts. Nacho smiled sadly. "You know, I still love you." Andrés' eyes glistened. "I know. I love you too." A pause. "And it hurts." He smiled through the ache. A soft, trembling smile. Because sometimes, love doesn't need to be forever to be real. It just needs to be felt, deeply, honestly, once. As Nacho walked away, Andrés looked back at the painting, and for the first time it didn't feel like sadness. Felt like closure. Because even if love ends, the story stays. Years passed. The world moved on. Seasons changed, faces faded, and the sharp edges of memory softened. Andrés became an artist whose work carried quiet emotion. Every piece a whisper of what once was. He never painted Nacho again. But somehow Nacho was always there. In the colors, in the light, in the silence between brushstrokes. One afternoon, during a small exhibition in another city, Andrés was walking through the crowd when a voice called his name. Soft, familiar. He turned around, and there he was, Nacho. Older, calmer. The same eyes, the same warmth, but now with years written behind them. They just stood there for a moment, smiling like no time had passed. No words were needed, they both knew what those years had meant. Nacho spoke first. "I saw your paintings. They're beautiful." Andrés smiled faintly. "You're in most of them, you know?" Nacho's laugh was quiet, a mix of joy and ache. "Yeah, I could tell." A pause. Then Andrés said, "Do you ever think about us?" Nacho looked at him, eyes soft. "Every time it rains." Andrés smiled, the kind of smile that comes when pain finally learns to rest. They walked together for a while, through the gallery, through memories, not trying to fix the past, just grateful it existed. Because love had changed them. It had broken them, healed them, and taught them that some connections never truly fade. They just find a quieter place to live. As they said goodbye one last time, Andrés realized something. Love doesn't